this graph was also very important, and in this particular graph they have given you three different lines, three different graphs. So here statement 1 says linkage is the exception of independent assortment. Now you all must be knowing that the character for paternal inheritance is that the character is strongly consumer, you find a herbivore, not a carnivore. So this statement is wrong. Hello everyone, welcome to Alan Overseas. So we have brought you a series of 90 top most important questions which may come in NEET 2023 examination, and this series is going to help you in preparing better for your NEET examination. So how the questions are divided, let's see that. So in this particular series, we have 90 questions which are divided into three subjects, that is physics, chemistry and biology, and 30 questions are in each of the segment. Further, in physics, the questions are divided into two parts, part 1 and part 2. Likewise, in chemistry, we have two parts, part 1 and part 2. And in biology, we have three parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. I will be dealing with the part 1 of 10 questions in biology. This is a common series and it is available in a common playlist, and the link for the playlist is available in the description box where you can go and check it. Okay, so let's start with a part 1. Now the first question is from Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question says, assertion, the possibility of a female becoming hemophilic is extremely rare, and the reason is mother of hemophilic female has to be at least carrier and the father should be hemophilic. Now these are the two statements which are directly given in your NCERT, and here these are the four options among which we have to select the correct one, right? Now here the assertion says possibility of a female becoming hemophilic is extremely rare, and that's correct. And the reason for that is that if any female has to be hemophilic, then the mother has to be carrier and the father has to be hemophilic. So the answer to this question is going to be first, that is both assertion and reason are true. So answer is going to be first. Now let us understand how we'll come to it. So here they have given that the female is hemophilic. It means that the female's genotype has to be XHXH. Why? Because it's an XR, X-linked recessive disease. And in X-linked recessive disease, the female should have this genotype to be hemophilic. This is what we know. Now, the reason says that to be hemophilic, her mother should be carrier and father should be hemophilic. Now, you know that when XHXS is the genotype, 1X is going to come from the father, right? And 1X will be from the mother, right? So it means if XH is coming from father, then the genotype of father is XHY. So father will be hemophilic. That is what is given, right? And the mother can be hemophilic, but if not, it has to be at least carrier, because the carrier female is heterozygous for this particular allele, right? So overall, if you will see, then the two statements which are given are correct, or you can say the reason which is given is correct explanation for the assertion, and therefore the answer is 1. Clear? Okay. Moving to the next question. Question number 2 is statement question where two statements are given. Okay, and we have to select which is correct, which is not correct, or both are correct, right? So here statement 1 says linkage is the exception of independent assortment. Now, if you remember Mendel's law, then Mendel performed monohybrid cross, and based on that he gave two postulates, that is postulate of dominance and the postulate of segregation, whereas the postulate for independent assortment was based on the dihybrid cross of Mendel, right? So here independent assortment was a law which was formulated based on dihybrid cross, and the exception to this law is linkage. So you can say linkage is exception to independent assortment. So this statement is correct. Now second statement says closely linked genes show more parental combination. Now in the linkage, we know linkage is seen when the genes lie on the same chromosome, right? So here suppose there are two genes, gene A and gene B. Now, if you will see the distance between A and B genes, the two genes are closely linked. Now, when the two genes are closely linked, we can say that here the chiasma formation cannot take place, the crossing over cannot occur, or the, you can say, frequency of crossing over will be very less, and because of that, we will find more parental combinations and less of new combinations if the genes are closely linked or tightly linked. Whereas if there is another gene located here, if you can see the distance between A and B, the distance is less, whereas the distance between A and C is greater. If the distance is more, we know that the chances of crossing over are more, right? And when crossing over is more, we say that the linkage is less. So from here only, one more concept I'm going to tell you, that linkage is exception to independent assortment and crossing over is opposite to linkage. Means if crossing over is more, linkage is less. If linkage is more, crossing over is less, and that is determined by the distance also. Okay, so here if the distance is less, closely linked, and when they are closely linked means more parental combinations. So statement 2 is also correct. So our answer becomes both statement 1 and 2 are correct. That is option number 1. Okay, now moving to the third question. They have given that in a dihybrid cross, if one character shows codominance and other character shows incomplete dominance, what will be the genotypic ratio in its progenies? Okay, now what you will do for this question? See, dihybrid cross is a, you can say, multiplication of two monohybrid crosses. Whatever dihybrid crosses they are, Mendel formulated that, Mendel proposed that a dihybrid cross is a multiplication of two monohybrid cross. Now here they have given that two characters which we have taken, among them one shows codominance and another character shows incomplete dominance. Now, when these two characters are showing, one is showing codominance, one is showing incomplete dominance, then in that case, we know what the genotypic ratio is for codominance. It's 1:2:1, right? 1:2:1. Similarly, for incomplete dominance also, the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. So simply we will multiply them, and the ratio that you're going to get is 1:2:1:2:4:2:1:2:1. Now here, if you will check the options, you will find that in third option, 4 times 1. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 times 1 is there, 1 times 4 is there, and 4 times 2 is there. Right? It means that your answer is going to be option number 3. So whatever question for dihybrid cross is given and you are asked to calculate whether genotypic or phenotypic ratio, simply multiply it like this, dividing it into two monohybrid crosses, and this will solve all the questions of such type. Okay, so your answer is going to be option number 3. Clear? Okay. Now coming to the next question, question number 4. Here they have given you pedigree. Now pedigree, of course, is again an important type of question that comes in the NEET examination. So here they have given, study the given pedigree carefully. The trait which is indicated here, you have to find it out. Okay. Now here they have given you the pedigree and they have given you 4 options: autosomal recessive, X-linked recessive, maternal inheritance and paternal inheritance. So we'll go by the ruling out method. So first of all, let's check option number 4, paternal inheritance. Now you all must be knowing that the character for paternal inheritance is that the character is transmitted by the father to the son and so on. Means if any character is paternal, it means it is Y-linked, and if it is Y-linked, it is transmitted from the father to the son and likewise. Here if you will see, the father is affected and the you can say the sons are normal, so we will say it is not Y-linked character. Now coming to X-linked recessive or XR. Now you know that if a character is X-linked, then a affected female cannot have a normal father. Likewise, we saw in hemophilia only. If the female is affected, the father has to be affected. Here you will see the female is affected, father is unaffected. So XR is also not possible. Now this pedigree can have these two as the answers, right? Autosomal recessive can also be answered, maternal inheritance can also be answered, but the answer which will go is maternal inheritance. Why? Because the star point for pedigree analysis for maternal inheritance or cytoplasmic inheritance is that in maternal inheritance, if mother is affected, all the progenies are affected, right? If mother is affected, all the progenies are affected, whereas if the father is affected, none of the progenies are affected. So you can see when mother is affected, the gene or the trait is transferred to all the progenies, whether male or female. Whereas when the father is affected, then all the progenies are normal, right? We are not talking about these because a daughter-in-law and son-in-law. So here, if you will see, these are normal, father is affected, whereas when mother is affected, all the offsprings are affected. Therefore, the answer which you have to mark is maternal inheritance. Okay, fine. Now, the next question, here they have given you some data, right? Here the genotypes are mentioned and here two categories of phenotypes are mentioned in case A and case B. We have to tell that case A represents which phenomena and case B represents which phenomena. Okay, so first of all, let's see. If you will see this particular phenotype, now here capital T is homozygous dominant, capital T small t is heterozygous dominant, and small t is recessive. Now here both homo and heterozygous dominant are giving you maximum expression, whereas a recessive phenotype is giving you minimum expression. It means in this particular case, you are getting only two expressions. One is maximum, one is minimum. Okay. Now come to this case. In this case, you are getting maximum expression if it is homozygous dominant, and you are getting minimum expression if it is homozygous recessive. However, in the case of heterozygous beta, we are getting 35 unit, which tells us an intermediate phenotype. Now, you know that if you are getting only maximum and minimum expression, it means it is a qualitative character. And whatever characters Mendel chose and told were all qualitative character because he was getting either maximum or minimum expression. So we can say for a qualitative character, we get only maximum and minimum expression, right? Whereas if it is a quantitative character, the quantity of dominant allele determines the expression, and therefore you just not get the maximum minimum, but you also get the intermediate expression or intermediate phenotypes, and therefore we can say this is quantitative, quantity, and this is qualitative, right? So these things are clear. Now coming to the second part. Here if you can see, then the gene which is used, or you can say the gene which is mentioned here is single gene beta, right? Only one gene is there, two alleles are there. So if one gene is there, such type of inheritance is monogenic, right? So if we will see the options now, wherever polygenic is there, we can rule out those options, right? So polygenic, this is not the correct answer, this cannot be the correct answer, this cannot be the correct answer. Also, we have already solved that this type of A part represents monogenic quantitative character and B represents monogenic qualitative character. So our answer becomes option number 2. Clear? Okay. Now moving to the next question, that is question number 6, and this question says that if the producer is a large tree that supports a number of herbivore animals which are further attacked by ectoparasites, then the pyramid of number shall be. So this question is from ecology, and in this particular question, they have given you some, you can say, food chain. So first let's draw the food chain. So suppose they have given tree here. So there's a large tree. So suppose the tree is 1. Okay, they've given a large tree is there. And this tree supports various herbivores. Okay. And on the herbivores, various ectoparasites are there. And then they are asking about the pyramid of number. So let's see the number. Tree is 1. On one tree, many herbivores will feed. So say 10 herbivores are there, right? And on each herbivore, many ectoparasites will parasitize. So we will say 100 ectoparasites are there. Now we know how to make the pyramid. So let's make the pyramid. First trophic level will come here. So T1 will come here. So 1. Then herbivores will come. So 10. And finally your ectoparasites will come, which is 100, Okay, so 100, 1 and this is 10. Now when you will see the shape, what shape it is coming? It is coming inverted. So your answer is option number 2. Clear? Okay. Now moving to the next question, which is again from ecology. An ecosystem has high resistance and high resilience for ecological perturbations, right? This is a line which is directly given to us. Now here in this line, they are saying that an ecosystem which is highly resistant and highly resilient for ecological disturbances, then such an ecosystem is said to be stable ecosystem. Okay, so this is what we can infer from this particular statement, that they are talking about a stable ecosystem because it is resistant to alien species invasion. Therefore, we say high resistance. And it is highly resilient. It means that less year-to-year variations are there in the productivity in such an ecosystem, right? Now, if such stable ecosystem is given to us, what characteristics should be there? Okay, so first let's see. First of all, if an ecosystem is stable, then first thing is that it should have high species diversity, right? Because more the species diversity is there, more stable that ecosystem is, right? Now when an ecosystem has high species diversity, it means that the food webs will be complex. So option E is also correct. Now, when high species diversity is there and complex food web is there, biomass will be high. Yes or no? So small biomass is wrong. Right? Now, if you remember David Tillman's experiment, then he told that in a, you can say, stable ecosystem, less variability is there in terms of productivity. And when less variability is there, then we say that there is a constant productivity. And when constant productivity is there, again, it's a feature of a stable ecosystem. So these three are the features of stable ecosystem. Now coming to the last option, niche generalization. Now when I'm saying high species diversity, it means there are chances of more competition. And when the competition is more, the niche or the niche becomes more specialized, not generalized. So therefore, niche generalization will not take place, niche specialization will occur. So the correct options are option A, C and E, and your answer becomes option number 4. Okay, so fourth will be answer. Okay, now moving to the next question. The question is again statement question where two statements are given. Statement 1 says, in food chain, the primary consumers are carnivores, right? And statement 2 says, the first trophic level in grazing food chain is occupied by the green plants. So let's check the true or false for the first and the second statement. Now, when I'm drawing a food chain, suppose I'll take a grazing food chain because they're talking about this only. So I have taken grass. Then grass is eaten up by, say, rabbit. Rabbit is eaten up by, say, wolf. And the wolf is eaten up by lion. Right. So this is a simple grazing food chain. Now let's mention their trophic level. So this is T1, this is T2, this is T3, this is T4. Now if I talk about the T1, we have producers. Then we have primary consumer. Okay. Primary consumer. We have secondary consumer. And since lion is a top carnivore, so top consumer. Now here, if you will see the first statement, they have mentioned in food chain, the primary consumers are carnivores. Here, if you will check in this food chain, the primary consumer is not a carnivore, it's a herbivore, right? So in the T2 trophic level, in the primary consumer, you find a herbivore, not a carnivore. So this statement is wrong. Right? Now coming to the second statement, the first trophic level in the grazing food chain is occupied by the green plants. Yes, now grass is a green plant, and in a grazing food chain, it always begins with the producers, and the producers are green plants, right? So yes, this statement is true. So if we'll check for the option, your answer will be option number 4, only statement 2 is correct. Clear? Okay. Now moving to the next question. The next question says, match the items given in the column 1 with those given in the column 2. So here they have given you some hypothesis and some information, and here they have given the names. So here if you will remember Rivet Popper hypothesis. So this particular hypothesis was proposed by Paul Ehrlich, right? So A matches with 3. Next is species area relationship. The species area relationship graph was given by Alexander von Humboldt. So B goes with option number 4. Now hotspots were first of all described by Norman Mayer. So C goes with option number 2 and D goes with option number 1, Robert May, who told about the global species diversity, which is estimated to be 7 million, if you remember, right? So here, if we'll match the options, you are going to find that answer will be option number 2, A3, B4, C2 and D1. Okay? Right. Now, coming to the last question of the series of this part, that is, according to Alexander von Humboldt, in the graph of the species area relationship, they've given you 3 areas A, B and C, and they've asked which of the area has steeper slope and maximum species richness. So this graph was also very important, and in this particular graph, they have given you 3 different lines, 3 different graphs, and they've asked that which has steeper slope and maximum species richness. Now, all of you know that here the slope is represented by Z value. So Z value here represents the slope. Now, more steeper the slope is means it is more close to the y-axis, right? Now, here if you will see BAC among the 3, C graph is the one which is most close to the y-axis. So we can say that the slope is maximum for C. So we can say Z value is also maximum for C, and when the Z value increase, the slope increase, and we know that if slope is greater, the steepness increase. And when the steepness increase, we say the graph is steeper, and we say that the species richness also increases. So more steeper the graph is, more rich it is, and if you will compare the 3, you will find that C has the maximum Z value. So maximum slope, maximum steepness, and in the question they have asked that which area has steeper slope, that is C, and if slope is steep, the C only has maximum richness. Therefore, our answer becomes C and C. That's option number 4. Right? So that's all about my particular segment, that is a part 1 of biology. Other videos of this section are available in a common playlist, and the link for that particular playlist is given in the description box. So stay tuned with us. All the best for your preparations for the NEET examination.